Have you ever dreamed of disappearing into another world? A place where trains arrive almost to the second, where ancient temples stand quietly beneath glowing cherry blossoms, where streets are so clean they seem untouched by time, where people move through life with calm precision, as if following an invisible rhythm that the rest of the world has forgotten. For millions of people, that place is Japan. For years, Japan has existed in the global imagination as something more than a country. It feels like a fantasy, a beautiful contradiction, a land where robots serve coffee while monks meditate in thousand-year-old temples, a place where towering skyscrapers rise beside peaceful wooden shrines, where the future and the past somehow coexist without conflict. From America to Europe, from India to the Middle East, from Southeast Asia to Australia, countless people spend years dreaming about life here. Some save money for decades just to visit once. Others learn the language, watch Japanese films, follow anime, study the culture, and imagine building a life in this mysterious island nation. And when they finally arrive, many discover that Japan is even more beautiful than they imagined. But then something unexpected happens. As the weeks become months and the months become years, another side of Japan slowly begins to emerge. A side hidden behind the neon lights. A side rarely shown in travel advertisements. A side that many visitors never see. Because living inside a dream is very different from visiting one. And nowhere is that more true than Japan. This is the story of a country that captivates the world. A country admired for its safety, beauty, discipline, and culture. A country that millions dream of calling home. But also a country that quietly challenges those same dreamers in ways they never expected. To understand why, we must first understand the dream itself. Imagine waking up on a spring morning in a small Japanese neighborhood. The streets are silent, not empty, just peaceful. The air feels fresh. The sky seems impossibly clear. A bicycle passes slowly down a narrow road lined with tiny gardens. Flowers bloom beside carefully maintained homes. Somewhere in the distance, a train glides past with barely a sound. There is no chaos, no honking traffic, no shouting crowds, only the gentle rhythm of daily life. For many newcomers, this sense of order feels almost magical. Japan is home to more than 120 million people, yet many of its cities feel remarkably organized. Even some of the busiest urban areas in the world seem to function with an almost unbelievable efficiency. You begin to notice it everywhere. People wait patiently in line. Public spaces remain clean. Lost wallets often find their way back to their owners. Children walk to school alone. Late at night, people still feel comfortable using public transportation. For visitors from countries where safety is a constant concern, this can feel revolutionary. Freedom takes on a different meaning here. Not the freedom of endless choices, but the freedom that comes from trust. The freedom to walk through a city after midnight without fear. The freedom to leave a bag on a cafe chair for a few minutes. The freedom to exist without constantly looking over your shoulder. Then there is the beauty. Not the obvious beauty that fills postcards, but the subtle beauty hidden in ordinary moments. A grandmother watering flowers outside her home, a tiny ramen shop glowing softly on a rainy evening, the sound of wind moving through bamboo forests. A convenience store employee greeting every customer with quiet respect. Japan often feels like a country that pays attention to details most of the world has forgotten, and that attention creates an atmosphere that many people find deeply comforting. Even daily routines seem different here. A simple train ride can feel peaceful. A walk to work can feel meditative. A visit to a neighborhood market can become an experience rather than a chore. For those escaping stressful lives elsewhere, Japan often appears to offer something increasingly rare in the modern world. A sense of calm, a sense of structure, a sense that life can still move at a human pace, at least on the surface, because beneath this peaceful image lies a much more complicated reality, And the deeper you go, the more fascinating the story becomes. For many people, the dream truly begins the moment they step into Tokyo. The world's largest metropolitan area does not announce itself with chaos. It whispers. At first glance, Tokyo seems impossible. More than 37 million people live within its greater urban region, yet somehow the city functions with remarkable precision. Trains arrive. People flow. Machines work. Millions move together like water through an invisible network. Stand on a busy crossing in Shibuya. Watch thousands of people move in every direction. For a moment, it looks like complete disorder. Then the lights change. The crowd shifts, and suddenly everything makes sense. No collisions, no panic, no confusion, just movement. Perfectly synchronized movement. For many newcomers, this is the first time they encounter one of Japan's most powerful strengths: collective responsibility. In many countries, individual freedom often takes center stage. In Japan, harmony frequently takes priority. People think about how their actions affect others. They avoid creating inconvenience. They follow rules not because they fear punishment, but because social cooperation is deeply embedded within everyday life. This invisible social contract is one of the reasons Japan feels so comfortable to many visitors. Everything seems designed to reduce friction. The train arrives where it should. The package arrives when promised. The streets remain clean. The systems work. And when systems work consistently, life feels easier. But Tokyo is only one chapter of Japan's story. Travel west, and the atmosphere begins to change. Kyoto feels like a memory, a city where ancient Japan still breathes. Narrow stone pathways wind between wooden houses. Temple bells echo across quiet hills. The scent of incense drifts through centuries-old streets. During autumn, fiery red maple leaves transform entire neighborhoods into living paintings. In spring, cherry blossoms seem to float through the air like snow. Walking through Kyoto can feel less like travel and more like time travel. Many visitors arrive expecting history. What they discover instead is continuity. Japan did not simply preserve its traditions. It carried them forward. Tea ceremonies still take place. Seasonal festivals still gather communities. Traditional craftsmanship still survives. Shrines still welcome visitors seeking peace. Even in one of the world's most technologically advanced nations, ancient customs continue to shape everyday life. That balance fascinates people. In the morning, someone may pay for groceries using cutting-edge technology. In the afternoon, they may visit a shrine that has existed for hundreds of years. Japan did not simply preserve its traditions. It carried them forward. Tea ceremonies still take place. Seasonal festivals still gather communities. Traditional craftsmanship still survives. Shrines still welcome visitors seeking peace. Even in one of the world's most technologically advanced nations, ancient customs continue to shape everyday life. That balance fascinates people. In the morning, someone may pay for groceries using cutting-edge technology. In the afternoon, they may visit a shrine that has existed for hundreds of years. Okinawa feels almost like another country. Palm trees sway beside turquoise water. The climate becomes subtropical. Life moves more slowly. The culture carries influences from the former Ryukyu Kingdom. The beaches rival many tropical destinations around the world. This diversity surprises many people. From snowy mountains to tropical islands. From ancient villages to futuristic megacities. Japan contains far more variety than outsiders often imagine. And then there is the food. For many visitors, Japanese cuisine becomes an obsession. Not because it is extravagant, but because it respects simplicity. A bowl of ramen, fresh sushi, grilled fish, steaming rice, seasonal vegetables. The ingredients often speak for themselves. Quality matters, freshness matters, presentation matters. Even convenience store meals frequently surprise foreign visitors with their quality. Across the country, food becomes a reflection of local identity. Different regions proudly celebrate their specialties. Each city seems to have its own flavors, its own traditions, its own culinary stories. Eating in Japan often feels less like consumption and more like participation in culture. And culture is everywhere, not only in famous temples and museums, but in everyday behavior. Watch people enter an elevator. Notice how quietly they stand. Observe commuters on a train. Many avoid speaking loudly on their phones. Visit a restaurant. Notice the respect shown between staff and customers. These small social habits create an atmosphere that many foreigners describe as considerate. Politeness is not merely a behavior. It is part of the social architecture. Respect shapes interactions. People bow. They apologize frequently. They express gratitude often. The result is a society that can feel remarkably smooth and pleasant to navigate, especially for visitors. Yet, beneath this elegance lies a complexity that takes time to understand, because social harmony comes with expectations, and expectations can be difficult to see at first. Visitors often experience only the benefits. Residents eventually discover the responsibilities. But before reaching that realization, many newcomers fall even deeper in love with Japan. They find apartments overlooking quiet streets. They develop favorite cafes. They learn local customs. They ride trains through landscapes painted by the changing seasons. Spring arrives. Cherry blossoms bloom. Families gather beneath pink trees. Friends share food in parks. For a few brief weeks, the entire country seems to celebrate beauty itself. Then, summer arrives. Festivals illuminate the night. Lanterns glow. Fireworks explode across the sky. Traditional clothing fills the streets. Music echoes through neighborhoods. Communities gather as they have for generations. Autumn follows. Perhaps Japan's most underrated season. Mountains transform into oceans of red, gold, and orange. Temple gardens become masterpieces of color. The air grows cooler. The crowds thin. A quiet sense of reflection settles over the country. Then winter arrives. Snow falls softly across villages. Hot springs release clouds of steam into freezing air. Mountain landscapes become silent and white. The seasons do not merely change in Japan. They are celebrated, observed, appreciated. People pay attention to nature's transitions, and this connection to seasonality creates a rhythm that many foreigners find deeply satisfying. Life feels grounded, predictable, beautiful. At this stage, many dreamers begin to believe they have found paradise. The clean streets, the safety, the food, the culture, the efficiency, the beauty. Everything appears to confirm what they imagined before arriving, perhaps even exceed it, and that is exactly when the first cracks begin to appear. Not dramatic cracks, not shocking revelations, just small moments, easy to miss at first, a conversation that feels strangely distant, an invitation that never comes, a loneliness that arrives unexpectedly despite being surrounded by millions of people. The dream is still alive. But now reality is slowly entering the picture. And reality, as many foreign residents eventually discover, is far more complicated than the postcards suggest. The first signs are often so subtle that people barely notice them. A foreign resident spends months exploring Japan. Everything still feels exciting. Every train ride feels like an adventure. Every neighborhood feels like a discovery. Every weekend offers another temple, another mountain trail, another hidden restaurant waiting to be found. Life feels full. Life feels beautiful. But eventually, the excitement of being somewhere new begins to fade. And when it does, something deeper emerges, because there is a difference between visiting a society and belonging to it. At first, many newcomers are treated warmly. People are curious, helpful, respectful. Yet over time, some foreigners discover that forming deep friendships can be more difficult than expected. Not impossible. Just different. Japanese social relationships often develop slowly. Trust is built gradually. Privacy is respected. Personal boundaries are important. Many friendships begin through school, university, workplaces, or long-term social circles. As a result, newcomers sometimes find themselves standing just outside the social network, close enough to observe it, but not always close enough to enter it easily. For someone arriving from a culture where friendships form quickly, this can feel confusing. Everyone seems kind. Yet many relationships remain formal, polite, careful. A foreign resident may know hundreds of people, yet still feel surprisingly alone. And loneliness is one of Japan's least understood realities. This may sound strange. After all, Japan is densely populated. The cities are crowded. The trains are full. The streets are alive. Yet loneliness does not depend on how many people surround you. It depends on connection. And in modern Japan, loneliness has become a subject of growing national conversation. In some neighborhoods, elderly residents live alone. Young professionals spend long hours working. Many people delay marriage. Birth rates continue to decline. Entire rural communities face shrinking populations. Behind the efficiency and order, many people quietly struggle with isolation. Foreign residents sometimes encounter the same feeling, especially after the honeymoon phase disappears, because eventually, daily life becomes normal. The temples become familiar. The cherry blossoms become seasonal rather than magical. The excitement settles, and what remains is life itself. The ordinary reality of building a future, paying bills, making friends, creating relationships, finding purpose. This is where Japan begins to reveal its complexity. Nowhere is this more visible than in work culture. For decades, Japan built a global reputation for dedication and discipline. Its companies became famous. Its products became trusted around the world. Its brands became symbols of quality. Think about companies that transformed global life: Toyota, Sony, Nintendo, Canon, Panasonic. The success of these companies helped build the image of modern Japan, a nation capable of extraordinary precision, extraordinary reliability, extraordinary innovation. But success often carries a price. For generations, long working hours became deeply associated with professional commitment. Many employees devoted themselves completely to their companies. Loyalty was admired. Sacrifice was respected. Responsibility came first. In recent years, Japan has worked hard to improve work-life balance. Many companies are changing. Government initiatives encourage healthier lifestyles. Younger generations increasingly seek different priorities. Yet traces of the older system remain. Some employees still face intense expectations. Long commutes, long hours, social obligations after work, pressure to fit into workplace culture. For foreigners arriving with dreams of a relaxed life, this can be surprising. The peaceful streets remain. The beautiful temples remain. But behind office windows, another reality exists. One built on responsibility and effort. And this brings us to another topic many outsiders wonder about: relationships. Dating in Japan often differs from what many foreigners expect. The process can feel more reserved, more structured, more cautious. People may take longer to express emotions openly. Direct approaches are not always common. Communication can be subtle. Intentions are sometimes implied rather than stated. For some newcomers, this feels refreshing. For others, it feels difficult to understand. There is no single Japanese dating culture, just as there is no single American, Indian, European, or Middle Eastern dating culture. Experiences vary enormously, yet many foreigners notice one recurring theme: patience matters. Trust develops gradually. Relationships often evolve through consistency rather than dramatic gestures. And for those hoping to build a long-term life in Japan, cultural understanding becomes increasingly important. Language plays a major role. This is another point where dreams meet reality. Many visitors assume they can comfortably navigate life using English. In major tourist areas, that is often true. But everyday life is different. Government paperwork, medical appointments, rental agreements, local community activities, school systems, professional environments. Many of these operate primarily in Japanese. Learning the language opens doors. Without it, life can feel like watching the world through a window. You can see it. You can appreciate it. But fully participating becomes harder. Some foreigners embrace this challenge. They spend years studying, practicing, improving. Eventually, they discover a richer version of Japan hidden beneath the surface. Others struggle, and that struggle can create frustration, especially when daily tasks become complicated. Yet, despite these challenges, many people stay, because Japan continues offering something they cannot find elsewhere: safety, stability, predictability. For many families, these qualities matter enormously. Parents appreciate neighborhoods where children can travel independently. Residents appreciate reliable public transportation. Communities appreciate low levels of street crime. Life often feels secure. And security has become increasingly valuable in an uncertain world, but security alone cannot solve every problem. Japan faces challenges that are larger than any individual experience, challenges that may shape the country's future for decades to come. One of the most significant is demographics. Japan's population has been gradually declining. Fewer children are being born. Many rural communities are shrinking. Schools close. Homes sit empty. Entire villages slowly age. Travel through parts of the countryside and you may notice something unusual. Silence. Not peaceful silence. Population silence. Young people leave for larger cities. Opportunities become concentrated in urban centers. Older residents remain behind. The result is a country facing one of the most profound demographic transformations in the modern world. And yet even this challenge creates fascinating contrasts. Because while some towns struggle with decline, Tokyo continues to shine with energy. New technologies emerge. New businesses open. New ideas appear. The future and the past continue their strange coexistence. Perhaps nowhere on Earth displays this contrast more vividly. A nation confronting serious long-term challenges while maintaining extraordinary everyday order. A country wrestling with uncertainty while appearing remarkably stable. A place that feels both timeless and fragile. And for many foreigners living there, this contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. They begin to realize something important. Japan was never a paradise. No country is. The dream they carried for years was real, but it was incomplete, because every beautiful place contains shadows. Every society contains struggles. Every culture contains trade-offs. The question is not whether Japan has problems. The question is whether the beauty outweighs them. And the answer depends entirely on who you are. For some people, Japan becomes the greatest chapter of their lives. For others, it becomes a lesson about expectations. A reminder that happiness cannot be imported through geography alone. Because eventually, wherever we go, we bring ourselves with us. And that realization changes everything. As the years pass, many people who choose to stay in Japan begin to notice something unexpected. The country slowly changes them. Not dramatically, not overnight, but quietly, almost invisibly. They begin arriving on time. They speak more softly. They become more aware of the people around them. They pay attention to small details. They notice the changing seasons. The first cherry blossom. The first autumn leaf. The first snowfall. The first warm breeze of spring. In a world increasingly obsessed with speed, Japan often teaches something different. Attention. The art of noticing. The art of slowing down just enough to appreciate what is already there. And perhaps that is one reason why so many people remain deeply attached to the country. even after discovering its flaws. Because beneath the technology, beneath the efficiency, beneath the cultural differences and social challenges, there exists a deeper philosophy, a belief that beauty lives in ordinary moments, a belief that perfection is not required for something to have value, a belief that life itself is meaningful because it is temporary. Walk through an ancient temple garden on a quiet morning. Listen carefully. You may hear nothing at all. No music, no engines, no advertisements. Only wind moving through trees. A few birds in the distance, the soft sound of footsteps on stone. And suddenly you understand something difficult to explain. Japan is not merely a place. It is an atmosphere, an emotional experience, a way of seeing the world. This perspective was shaped by centuries of history, by earthquakes, by tsunamis, by wars, by reconstruction, by resilience. Japan sits along one of the most active seismic zones on Earth. The ground itself is never completely still. Natural disasters have repeatedly tested the nation. Entire cities have been rebuilt. Communities have recovered from unimaginable loss. And perhaps this constant awareness of impermanence has influenced the culture in profound ways. Nothing lasts forever. Not the blossoms, not the seasons, not youth, not prosperity, not even life itself. Rather than resisting this reality, many aspects of Japanese culture seem to acknowledge it, accept it, even find beauty within it. This mindset becomes especially fascinating when viewed against the backdrop of modern geopolitics. Japan occupies a unique position in the world, an island nation located in one of the most strategically important regions on Earth, close to powerful neighbors, connected to global trade routes, influential far beyond its geographic size. Throughout history, Japan has experienced periods of isolation and periods of intense international engagement. Today, it remains one of the world's most respected economies, a country known not only for its products, but for its cultural influence. Japanese films travel across continents. Japanese food is enjoyed around the world. Japanese design influences architecture, fashion, technology, and art. Anime and manga have introduced millions of people to Japanese culture long before they ever visit. In many ways, Japan has become one of the world's most successful cultural ambassadors. Yet, despite its global reputation, Japan often remains deeply itself. Modern, yet traditional. Global, yet uniquely local. Open, yet reserved. This paradox continues to intrigue outsiders. The more you learn about Japan, the more difficult it becomes to define. And perhaps that mystery is part of the attraction. Because mystery invites imagination. For years, millions imagine Japan before they ever see it. They imagine neon lights reflecting on rainy streets, snow-covered villages hidden among mountains, silent shrines beneath ancient trees, bullet trains racing across the countryside. They imagine a life that feels simpler, safer, more meaningful. And then some of them arrive. Some stay for a week, some stay for a year, some stay forever. Each discovers a different version of Japan. The traveler finds adventure. The student finds challenge. The worker finds responsibility. The immigrant finds complexity. The dreamer finds reality. And reality, surprisingly, may be even more valuable than the dream. Because dreams are often one-dimensional. Reality is not. Reality contains beauty and frustration, joy and loneliness, connection and distance, hope and disappointment. Reality contains depth, and depth is where true understanding begins. The longer someone lives in Japan, the more they realize that the country's greatest strength is not its technology, not its infrastructure, not even its safety. Its greatest strength may be its ability to preserve a sense of balance in an increasingly unbalanced world. Balance between old and new, between nature and cities, between individual desires and collective responsibility, between ambition and restraint. No system achieves this perfectly. Japan certainly does not, but the attempt itself is remarkable, especially in an era when so many societies struggle to find common ground. This does not mean life in Japan is easy. Far from it. Some foreign residents eventually leave. They miss family. They miss familiar cultural norms. They struggle with language barriers. They feel isolated. Others decide the opportunities no longer outweigh the challenges. And there is nothing unusual about that. Because finding a home is deeply personal. What feels magical to one person may feel restrictive to another. What feels peaceful to one person may feel lonely to someone else. There is no universal answer, only individual journeys. Yet even those who leave often carry something with them. A memory, a lesson, a feeling. Perhaps the memory of walking through Kyoto at dawn while temple bells echoed across empty streets. Perhaps the memory of watching cherry blossoms fall into a river. Perhaps the memory of sharing ramen in a tiny restaurant during a winter snowstorm. Or perhaps simply the memory of feeling safe, calm, present. For a brief moment in a complicated world. And maybe that is the real reason so many people dream of Japan. Not because it is perfect, not because it is better than every other country, but because it represents something many people feel they are missing. Stillness, order, beauty, meaning, a chance to step outside the noise, a chance to imagine a different way of living. The dream is real. The beauty is real. The culture is real. The challenges are real, too. Both truths exist at the same time, and understanding Japan means accepting both. The glowing city streets and the quiet loneliness, the extraordinary safety and the social pressures, the breathtaking traditions and the modern struggles, the dream and the reality, because Japan is neither paradise nor disappointment. It is something far more interesting. It is human, beautifully human, and perhaps that is the final lesson hidden within this remarkable country. No destination can solve every problem. No country can guarantee happiness. No place on earth can transform our lives simply because we arrive there. Happiness is not found in Tokyo's skyline. It is not hidden inside Kyoto's temples. It is not waiting beneath the cherry blossoms. Those places can inspire us, move us, teach us. But ultimately, happiness emerges from something deeper. Connection, purpose, belonging, gratitude. The things that matter in every culture, in every language, and in every corner of the world. So, if you dream of Japan, keep dreaming. Dream of the mountains. Dream of the lantern-lit streets. Dream of the snow-covered villages. Dream of the cherry blossoms drifting through the spring air. But remember this. The most beautiful journeys are not the ones that confirm our fantasies. They are the ones that challenge them. The ones that reveal both light and shadow, the ones that help us see the world and ourselves more clearly. And perhaps that is why Japan continues to captivate millions, not because it is perfect, but because, like life itself, it is a breathtaking mixture of wonder, contradiction, beauty, and truth. A place where dreams begin, a place where reality arrives, and a place that, long after you leave, remains quietly alive in your memory, waiting, like a distant lantern glowing through the night, calling you back once more.